We are live and on the air. And this is the TWIS Minion Science Island Hangout. Once again, I'm Ed Dyer, great state of Connecticut of USA. And joining me tonight, right now, is Pamela Taylor and her lovely, rambunctious daughter, Chelsea. And there you can see Chelsea. Hello, Chelsea. Ponies. Chelsea calls everybody ponies. All right. We got a bunch of, we're going to have fun tonight. One way or the other, we're going to have fun. I have had connection problems all day long, fighting with Comcast. Who the heck knows what's going to happen? I may suddenly disappear at any moment, but hopefully not. What are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about soft, cuddly robots modeled off of the cephalopods. And we have got some squid-looking robots and really cute robots. But the great thing is, the advantage they have is they're soft, and they have soft arms, or even tentacles, perhaps. So they're much easier for fitting around spaces. They are squishy. They're not hard-bodied like most traditional robots. And so they're easier to program than the hard body robots are. Got another one you might find interesting is babies can see things up to 5 months that adults can't. They actually can discern clear differences in objects. But as babies get older, they lose that ability, basically eliminating noise, if you will, so that we can eliminate noise in our vision. And so things that look very, very similar, even if there's a slight difference, look the same to us. And that's kind of interesting. Kind of another neat story, something I didn't realize. Well, we all know how the moon was formed in a collision with another body about 100 million years after the Earth was formed. Now some researchers, now that has thought to been kind of like a glancing blow. A couple of researchers now say that was a head-on collision. And it was a planet that was forming. And in that collision, the moon was created, but also that planet actually was kind of merged with planet Earth. So when you look at planet Earth, part of planet Earth is from this, was part of this planet that smashed into us. Big collision. Very interesting. We got the German scientists. There's a fusion project, high hopes for, and they've turned it on and they're starting their fusion experiment. Another interesting, a mobile lab, which will help healthcare workers out in the field be able to identify viruses. Instead of waiting weeks for the results, they'll get the results within 24 hours. That's a good thing. If we get to it, and Pamela, we're going to talk about the UN's ruling on Julian Assange, talk a little bit about it, and that will lead us into a discussion, I think, political discussion. We'll get into the politics. If Justin Jackson pops in, heck, we'll go for 2 or 3 hours on that subject. What else can we talk about? There's a the scientists have developed the ability of having a 3-person embryo. The idea being you've got an embryo and you know the embryo's got problems. So what you can do is you take a 3rd person, and I think they're talking about the male DNA. And so you can take DNA, healthy DNA from a male, insert that into the unhealthy, in effect, embryo, so that what you're producing is a new healthy embryo. The scientists are excited about it. It's got great potential. Scientific panel says, let's go ahead and start this experiments, but the U.S. FDA is saying, the regulators are saying, no, not at this point. They've got some questions. So from my standpoint, from the scientific standpoint, once again, the regulators just don't really understand what this process is or what the potential is. And so at least the United States this kind of research may not go forward. All right, I'm going to get into some soft, cuddly cephalopod modeled robots. Gonna screen share with you, as you can see what these neat little robots look like. All right, there you go. There's a video. So what I'm going to do, I don't think you can hear the sound. So I'm going to play this video while I'm talking about the story itself. Now this is actually a father-daughter collaboration. That's not them. Cecily Lashia and her father, what's his name? I don't see his name. Anyway, the two of them, they used to fish for octopus. So she had the idea to try to develop, as you can see, a soft, flexible robot. And they're from the St. Anna School of Advanced Studies in Pisa, Italy. And prototype by prototype, they created an artificial tentacle with internal springs and wires that mirror an octopus's muscle. The device can undulate, elongate, shrink, stiffen, or curl in a lifelike manner. And this approach has become a major research front for robotics in the last 10 years, as opposed to the really hard-bodied robots. Now, with the hard-body robots, you have to have these that move in mathematically predictable ways, rigid limbs. They can bend and straighten only around a fixed joint. So it takes meticulous programming and extensive feedback to avoid smacking into things. Even then, their motions often become erratic or even dangerous when dealing with people and objects. Robots with these flexible appendages instead of requiring intensive computations, they're built mostly of pliable or elastic materials, and they can mold themselves around the surroundings. Although some of these machines use wires or springs to mimic muscles and tendons, as a group, soft robots have ditched the skeletons and are a lot easier to create. There's researchers, they produced a wide variety, as you can see from the video, a wide variety of different types of crawling robotic caterpillars and fish bots and undulating jellyfish. And of course, on April 30th, there's going to be 10 teams going to get together for the Soft Robot Challenge. She also is this girl, Ashia. She's the scientific coordinator for the European Commission-backed sponsoring research consortium, RobotSoft. There's about 30 institutions now that are part of this RobotSoft collaboration, and they set up a website. And the great thing is with this collaboration, it's open source. And it's Trinity College in Dublin, Harvard University. They're going to allow researchers and amateurs to share tips, download designs, etc. So that's, I mean, open source is really the way we want to see things done with science. The most fundamental change is getting the robot's soft structures to curl, scrunch, and stretch. Lucia's tentacle houses a network of thin metal cables and springs made of shape memory alloys, easily bendable metals that return to their original shape when heated. Laid lengthwise along the arm, some of these components simulate the octopus's longitudinal muscle. They can shorten and bend, and others radiate out. Researchers can make the tentacle wave or even curl around a human hand by pulling certain combinations of cables and external motors or heating springs with electric currents. Another guy by the name of George Whiteside. He's from Harvard. Now his robots are powered by air. Polymer-based devices inspired by the starfish. Each limb consists of an internal network of pockets and channels sandwiched between two materials of differing elasticity. And they pump air into parts of the robot, and the arms inflate asymmetrically and curl. He's even been able to build a device that can play Mary Had a Little Lamb on the piano. We got another guy. Let's see. This guy's name is Connor Welch of Harvard University, and he's been funded by the U.S. military. And let's see. He's been funded by the U.S. military, and he's developing a soft, instead of an exoskeleton, he's developing an exosuit. It's meant to help fighters to carry heavy loads over long distances, but the users who have tried it out said it's very natural. A big improvement over conventional exoskeletons. Uses straps made of nylon, polyester, and spandex placed strategically along the legs, and a spattering of positional acceleration sensors. It helps to monitor the wearer's gait and deliver assistance at optimum times. So there you go. A new way of developing robots. And number one, looks really neat, but I can definitely see where this has a lot better application because of its flexibility. Getting the 2 thumbs up from Pamela. What can I say? I think.
Yeah, a lot more application and a lot more cuddly. Very good. I wasn't really looking to cuddle any robots, but I'm sure there are plenty of people out there who would be. So why not?
That will be actually at some point. I don't know what. I guess you're gonna have robot hookers at some point. Obviously, we've seen it in the sci-fi shows. We know everything we see in a sci-fi show. Sooner or later, it's going to have an application. But I think there's going to be a lot better use for it.
What sci-fi show has robot hookers?
I see. I have watched 3 or 4 recently. I can't think of the name, and that's what they had. In fact, there's a television show. Can't remember the name of it, where a couple of the characters are actual robots, and you can't tell the difference. And what happened was a corporation created these robots, and they they rent them out for people to use as servants. Now, apparently, when you get the manual, there's some little part of the manual that will tell you how to turn your robot into, a sex toy. So the story is about one family. What has happened is a couple of these robots who are become self-aware escaped. A group of them have escaped, and now the corporation is trying to hunt them down. But these new robots are trying to live free. One of them was recaptured, is now in the home as a servant, but the robot gets these memories back of when she was free. So the other group, her friends are trying to come and rescue her. So of course, the guy, the husband, look in the manual, suddenly says, what's this little part over here? So, he goes ahead and has sex with her, but, she's just a robot. She's just laying there. So it's not really, he's kind of disappointed with the experience.
Oh, so she's British. Sorry. I had to say that.
Okay, let us quickly move on. Quickly move on to the next
No,
subject.
but hang on. So what show is this? Because if the
I don't know.
hang on, I'm stuck in the thing. Because if the robot is self-aware and the guy is having sex with her, then she's not giving consent. So that's not. It's not like he's just doing it with a vacuum cleaner. He's doing it with something that's self-aware.
Well, she's been reprogrammed. She was recaptured.
But she remembers.
Sometimes.
Yeah, but you said she remembers.
Sometimes. Sometimes she does get these memories. And when she does, she'll go outside, look at the stars, and suddenly get this memory of when she was free. But then programming gets overridden. However, her fellow robots that are free come and they've got her. And so the first season kind of ends at the point where she's deciding, I guess, that the family is deciding what they should do. The family is trying to decide, should they let her go free, or should they call up the company and see if she can be recaptured? And the robots who are free have found their original person who created them, and they're hoping he can help them become completely independent. That's the basic storyline. What's the the famous sci-fi story? Complete blank. Tremendous movie. One of the most popular movies of all time in the sci-fi era. The guy who was in Star Wars starred in it. One of the stars of Star Wars. Good grief, I can't think of the name of it. In any event, what's the name? Who's the guy in Star Wars? This is the internet, so I can surf and let's see, Star Wars.
Comcast.
Star Wars. From Star Wars, I will find out the cast. Come on, guys. Who's in the cast? Blah, blah, blah. The cast. Come on. There we go. Wikipedia. The star that I'm thinking of is cast. Come on. What the heck is going on here? I am not succeeding. Cast. Okay. So the cast is blah, 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 blah. Hold on, guys. Hold on, guys. I'm going to find it sooner or later. Where the heck is the cast? It said cast. I am failing in my attempts here. Let's see, Han Solo.
So which
Who
Star
played Han
Wars are you
Solo?
talking about? The original series or the prequels or the latest
The
one?
original movie and the recent one. Who played Han Solo?
Oh, Harrison Ford.
Harrison Ford. Okay. So now I will look up Harrison. You're very impressed, anybody who's watching this. I'm going to look up Harrison Ford. I can spell.
So he was in a movie with a hooker robot?
Yes.
He was.
I mean, it's a
Oh.
tremendous movie. One of my favorite movies, and I can't think of the name of it. Let's see. Not a Blade Runner, of course.
I have. Okay.
Have you ever heard or seen Blade Runner?
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it.
You've never
I didn't even know
seen.
Harrison.
Here's a
No.
link in the chat area for you, Pamela.
I
You've
didn't
got to
even know
watch.
Harrison Ford. It's a Blade Runner. Very good, is it? And it's got hooker robots.
The storyline is you have, again, a corporation. They built robots for mining.
Yeah.
Some of the robots escaped and they're back on Earth. Now the robots understand that they were built with a limited lifetime. They know they're only going to exist for like 7 or 8 years or something like that. So they're trying to, first of all, they're looking for revenge for the people who created them. And I guess there's some hope that maybe they can reprogram themselves. In any event, Harrison Ford is the guy who's going out to go after these robots. He's hunting them down. And he, at some point, goes to the corporation. The corporation says, prove to us that you can tell the difference between a robot and a human. He does that. And he does that by testing a female robot. But then he kind of develops a relationship with the female robot. And the end of the story is he's riding off into the sunset with the female robot. So I perhaps explained it badly. It's one of the best science fiction movies of all time. Absolutely. Oops, I threw away my story. Because I want to get into the next one, which you will undoubtedly find interesting. And it's how babies can see.
I'll just let you know I'm down to 5% battery. I am plugged in with an original authentic charger, but it's not charging. It says it's not an authentic charger, which of course it is because it's the one that it came with. So I might disappear.
Okay, I will soldier on. Okay. There's a little itty bitty baby, and I'll read from the story. Now, it says, before developing perceptual, now the word here is constancy, constancy, I guess. It's not consistency, I'll say perceptual constancy. 3 to 4 month old babies have a striking ability to see differences that are invisible to adults, but then they lose this ability after about 5 months. Now here is what it says. It says, take a look at the red chips right there in front of you, the Rubik's cubes. They are actually orange on the left and purple on the right. If you look at them in isolation, they only appear more or less equally red across the images because your brain is interpreting them as red chips lit by either yellow or blue light. This kind of misrepresentation is an example of perceptual constancy, the mechanism that allows you to recognize an object as being the same in different environments and under different diverse lighting conditions. Okay. There are many indications that constancy effects must have helped us survive. One such clue is that we are not born with perceptual constancy, but develop it many months after birth, 3 or 4. So at first we see all of the differences. Then we learn to ignore certain types of differences so that we can recognize the same objects as unchanging in many varied scenarios. When perceptual constancy arises, we lose the ability to detect multiple contradictions that are nevertheless highly noticeable to young babies. So you take a look at the 3 snails below. Choose the 2 that are most similar. And it says here, the 2 glossy snails are virtually identical. Wrong. If a 4-month-old infant could talk, she would tell you that clearly the middle and right images are almost alike. Almost. The left and middle snails look nearly identical to you, but in reality are hugely dissimilar in terms of their pixel intensity. A baby can tell that very easily. An adult has no problem seeing the middle and the right, but doesn't see the differences between the one in the middle and the one on the left. Let's see. They studied 42 babies aged 3 to 8 months. They looked at pairs of images from real 3D objects. Now, a problem when you're working with children is obviously they can't talk to you. So here's what they did. Previous research has shown that babies look for longer times at novel objects than in objects that they're familiar with. This meant the scientist could know, based on how much time a baby spent on an image, if she thought the image was similar to or different from the previous picture. If the baby spent less time looking at the second image than the first one, it indicated she thought she had just seen the same image before. But if the baby looked at the same image for an equivalent time, it meant equivalent time she spent on the first image, and it indicated that she found the image equally interesting and surprising. So the experiment, according to them, said that it showed that these babies in the 3 to 4 month old range have a striking ability to discriminate image differences due to changes in illumination that are not visible to adults. Now, there you go.
Well, that's very interesting.
Yeah, it's well, it also shows how we evolve. How the different stages in our evolution. I guess it'll go. I'm trying to think of the right way to put this. Can also the epigenome affects us. So we start out with not having an ability, then we have an ability, and then I would say almost an epigenetic change takes place. And in order for us to, I mean, we've got a very rich environment we're in. If we saw every minuscule difference in every object, it would probably overload our brain. So that ability to see the finite differences gets kind of funneled out. So we reach the 5-month stage and beyond. Now we lose that ability to see very, very precisely and exactly, so that we can function in an environment that has a lot more richer objects in it. At least that's the way I interpret it. All right. Moving on to another very interesting story, an exciting story. We got Earth colliding with other objects, and it's a much bigger collision than we had anticipated, or what most researchers had believed. And this is about 100 million years after Earth formed, and it's a collision that resulted in creating the moon. Now, scientists had already known about this high-speed collision, and many had thought, and this other protoplanet called Theia, the collision took place at around 45 degrees or more, a powerful sideswipe. But new evidence is showing that it actually was a full-on, head-on collision. And they looked at rocks brought to Earth from the moon, as well as rocks from volcanic rocks on the Earth's mantle, 5 from Hawaii, 1 from Arizona. The key to reconstructing the giant impact was a chemical signature revealed in the rock's oxygen atoms. Oxygen makes up 90% of the rocks and 50% of their weight. More than 99% of the Earth's oxygen is O-16, so-called because each atomic contains 8 protons and 8 neutrons. But there are also some quantities of heavier oxygen isotopes, O-17, which got an extra neutron, and O-18, which have 2 extra neutrons. Earth, Mars, and other planetary bodies each have a unique ratio of O-17 and O-16. We didn't see any difference between the Earth's and the Moon's oxygen isotopes. They had seemed to be indistinguishable. But this team used state-of-the-art technology to make, and it says, extraordinary precise and careful measurements, and verified them by UCLA's new mass spectrometer. The fact that the rocks on Earth and our moon share chemical signatures, very telling. Had Earth and Theia collided on a glancing blow, the vast majority of the moon would have been made up of Theia, and the Earth and the moon would have different oxygen isotopes. But because this was a head-on collision, you have the Earth, the moon, all having the same isotope signature. It was thoroughly mixed into both the Earth and the moon. And that shows that it actually was a head-on collision. And although this Theia didn't survive the collision, it actually became incorporated into Earth. So there you go. We have this protoplanet that appeared to have been in a formation stage, and it hit Earth full on, so that now we find Earth actually you can say it consists of almost a merger between these two, the protoplanet and Earth. But, I mean, that's the other thing to me is that the Earth survived. And we have these scary scenarios where people are concerned with an asteroid colliding into the Earth. As has happened many times. And one of these large collisions could have led to extreme climate change and the extinction of the dinosaur. So although these wide collisions, these asteroid collisions, could result in significant changes to the Earth environment, possibly leading to, well, it'd be extreme climate change. Could people adjust to it? I would say yes, but the Earth will survive. That's the important thing. Let us move on to the next story, and I see Pamela is gone. No sense in me discussing this with myself. So I will go on to the next story, and this is a hopeful development. And this is an experiment from the Max Planck Institute. Let me screen share that with the audience we have today, and hopefully the audience we will have in the future. And there's a picture of this experiment with nuclear fission. And since the start of operation in December of 2015, this is at the Weinstein 7X. Now, they have been producing 300 discharges of helium. And they did that to clean out this plasma vessel. And the key is the plasma itself. That's being able to contain the plasma in a safe environment is what makes creating fusion energy so difficult. The cleaner the vessel wall, the more plasma temperature increases, and they finally got it to 6 million degrees. The plasma heating and data recording were tested. First measurement facilities for investigating the plasma were put into operation, and the laser scattering and video diagnostic. This means we're ready for the next step. We are changing from helium to hydrogen plasmas. The first hydrogen plasma happened on February 3rd. It's a 2 megawatt pulse of microwave heating transformed a tiny hydrogen gas into extremely hot, low density hydrogen plasmas. This entails separation of electrons from the nuclei of the hydrogen atoms, and confined within this magnetic cage, the charged particles, they levitate without making contact with the walls of the plasma chamber. And they go up to 80 million degrees in a quarter of a second. And it lived up to their expectations. Hooray. The objective of the fusion team is to develop a power plant favorable to the climate and environment, more favorable than now currently exists. Fusion fire only ignites at temperatures of 100 million degrees, and the fuel must not come in contact with cold vessel walls. They have to be confined in that magnetic field, virtually free from contact. And there's two designs for these fusion plasma. One is called tokamak, and the other is called the Stellarator. Both systems are being investigated, and in a place called Garching, Germany, the tokamak is being upgraded into operation. So you've got one operation using the tokamak design, and then you've got the Wendelstein, which is in the Stellarator design. Now, the tokamak design project is being designed to be a energy producing plasma, whereas the Weinstein accelerator is much more of a first step proof of concept. This Weinstein 7X, the world will be the largest Stellarator type of fusion device, but it's not going to produce any energy. It's much more of a proof of concept. And I think, Pamela is back. Now, I think most of us are hoping that a fusion generator plant can be built. The French tried to build one. I forget how much money they $30 billion into the project, and they had all kinds of delays, and they finally had to end the project. So you don't really have a working fusion generator at this point. It's looking like there's a couple of places that are trying to actually build a fusion generator, but none have been successful. So we're looking at probably at least 10 years out, maybe 20 years out, before we see a fusion generator. And I personally hope by that time, we're all going to be on solar energy anyway. Pamela. Hello, Pamela. Do you think you can get into a discussion? Because I know Pamela posted a story about her friend, Julian Assange. Let's see. Technical problems. Maybe she can't say anything. Can you speak, Pamela? You can't. Oh, well. Too bad. Now I have to get into a discussion with myself. This is going to be a fun hangout. But at least Pamela's trying. At least she's sharing she can listen to me. Maybe she can say something. Our microphone is broken. Oh, well. I don't know if you can even take part by posting something in the chat area.
You can try it.
Not working. Not working. The best you can do is maybe try putting something in the chat area if you want to say something. So what happened was the UN, and I don't remember all the details. So the UN, there was some kind of a trial or something, and the UN concluded that Julian Assange is not guilty of any of the charges against him, and he should be a free person. Okay. I'm going to say Australia, for one, not going to go along with that. And certainly the United States is not going to go along with that, I would suspect. And the issue really is, how do you view Assange? Because he was the one, it was Chelsea Manning who provided him with with the information that he was able to use to expose a lot of detailed communications between the United States and other countries. And we have the WikiLeaks sites, which has been posting these over time. So it comes down to, now Chelsea Manning was in the military, in the US military. She went on trial in a military court. She was convicted for, I'm getting, Pamela's waving. Oh, let's see, in Australia, the charges have nothing to do with the charges they were due to with, Julian Assange himself has been charged with rape in Sweden. The United Nations said that he was arbitrarily detained and should be allowed to walk free. Okay. The issue, as I understand it, is, well, I'm saying the issue for me is the difference between Chelsea Manning and Julian Assange. Julian Assange should be considered an investigative journalist. And investigative journalists are an absolute requirement for a democracy to function. Chelsea Manning, unfortunately, well, she was a soldier. And so she could be convicted under US military law for going against the U.S. military code of conduct. So Chelsea Manning is going to be stuck in a prison, a military prison, I suspect, for a very long time. Probably at least another 10, 20 years. The best shot Chelsea Manning has would be if she had a president who might pardon her. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't see, Bernie Sanders hadn't said anything about it. He might be the one most likely to pardon her. And finally, we have Patrick. Patrick joining us.
Maybe.
Maybe. And Patrick probably has low bandwidth issues. I don't know.
No, I'm just really tired.
Well, you can chime in when you want. We were having a brief discussion. Pamela can't join us except in the chat area. And what it comes down to is Julian Assange, is he an investigative journalist, or he is somebody who should be strung up by his balls because he released all this confidential information?
Neither. He's not a journalist. He's just someone who's doing the right thing.
Well, there's a WikiLeaks site, WikiLeaks site, so I would consider him to be an investigative journalist. And
No,
if
that's not being an investigative journalist.
Yeah, a journalist is publishing articles and doing research and stuff. All he does is leak stuff.
that gets published in journals like The Guardian.
Yeah, but he didn't publish it. The Guardian published it.
Yeah, but he is the journalist. He is the journalist who said, Guardian, here is this information. And they published it. He's a freelance journalist.
Is he the author on the articles?
In The Guardian, I don't believe he is the author.
Then he's not a journalist.
I disagree with you in terms of definition.
That's totally not the definition of a journalist, Ed.
That's my view, and it doesn't really make any difference whether he's a journalist or not. The main thing is, should he be charged for releasing classified U.S. information? Should he be charged, and should he go to prison for that?
He's not a U.S. citizen, so how can he be charged for it?
Well, if the United States grabs him, he will be.
Well, I think that's silly. So
let's see. Yeah, well, The Guardian accessed it like I accessed it, like you accessed it. He's not up on these charges, though. Well, unfortunately, Pamela can't talk because she's on low battery, or she has a broken microphone. She could explain it to you in much better detail than I can. But to me,
Pamela, don't you have any cell phone headphones that have a mic built in?
And
if you
Pamela,
do, just plug them in, and that would work just fine.
Well, I guess it was the original. She was on an iPad, or maybe she was on a Chromecast. I'm not sure. But she was down to 5% battery. That's what the problem is for Pamela. She was on a device which she could talk on, but it was down to 5%. And poof, it went. What she's on now, the device she's on now, the microphone is broken.
All right.
So, communication problem. Maybe she can do hand signals. The best she can do at this point, I think, is just communicate with us through the chat area in the Hangout.
Surely she knows sign language.
I don't know. She's coming to America at some point, right?
I heard that.
She might be coming to Houston, Texas to join you.
There might be beer involved.
Yeah.
And possibly a midnight jump over the NASA fence.
Are you still working at Johnson?
Yep.
Okay. Trying to go. Can't think of anything else to talk about at this point, other than going on to more stories.
How about you yelling at Comcast?
Oh. Well, I've yelled at Comcast enough. I had a 1-hour service call. They put in, I don't know exactly what to call it. I can access right now all my sites except the Comcast Infinity site. So I can't read my any email that's been posted there. Now that's right now. It's certainly possible, and I would say if I closed out my computer, I went offline, and tried to get back online, I'm out of luck. That's my guess. Now what they told me was, according to their records and files, the modem that they say I'm using is owned by me. I have no idea how they came to that conclusion, but they've got the wrong modem. The modem I've had and been using for the last 2 months for some reason is not on their inventory as the device assigned to me. So they say I have to drive up to a service center, which is about 50 miles from me, and I have to say, here's my modem. And they can take the modem, put it on their inventory, and then it can be assigned to me. That's as well as I can understand it. I'm going to guess they might also be able to send me just a new modem in the mail, and I have to go through the whole activation process again. I don't know. It's working right now. I'm even thinking of just leaving the stupid thing on, because I can't go up to the service center until Monday. It's going to be snowing tomorrow here. I'm not driving in the snow, visiting people on the weekend, so it's going to be till Monday. I might very well just leave my computer open and on, and hopefully it won't go offline.
How many people did you talk to at Comcast about this?
This is my 3rd service call.
And they all tell you the same thing?
No. The second serviceman did something. Now I'm guessing he did some kind of a reset. And that worked for a couple of days, and then I ran into the same problem again. And the problem being, I can see my modem is functioning, I can see my home network is correct and connected, but I couldn't get on the internet. Now, the service person I talked to today tried to fix the problem, but could only, I don't know what she did, but as I say, I'm online right now. I can access all my sites, but I can't access the Infinity Comcast.net, which is where my email is. Now, to make it even stranger, I can access Xfinity from my iPad. And my iPad is using the same Wi-Fi connection as my PC. I don't know.
Change your DNS servers over to Google's or OpenDNS.
What?
Change your DNS servers, your domain name servers. Well, that's redundant. Change your DNS to 88888 or 88.44. Or sorry, 888.8844. That should give you access to all the stuff you want to get to.
What server am I working off of then?
Then you're working off of Google servers.
Okay.
Everything will be faster.
Okay, that's an option. I'm going to go with leaving this open. and then driving up to Waterbury. They gave me $25 with me, but that pays for my service. I don't know. This if I go to the Google, log on to the Google server, I can do that from my PC.
Yeah, you just got to change your DNS servers in your internet options or network options. I can't remember which. One of the two. You can just pull up like a. You could probably find a YouTube video on how to change the DNS servers in Windows 10 that you're running, and it would just walk you through it.
Okay. So I had a pen around here somewhere. Okay, so it's the DNS servers, and like you say, I'll just go onto YouTube and read about it. And that certainly gives me an option, particularly if this stupid thing keeps reoccurring.
Yeah, I'm not on AT&T's servers, even though I have AT&T. I have set up for Google's DNS servers.
Okay, thanks.
It's how people get around the Great Firewall in China.
Huh. So
you can also flush your DNS cache, but I'm not quite sure how to do that.
Well, they had me clear my history, but that's on Google Plus. Now, is that going to give me access to Comcast?
Yeah, you'll still have access to everything. You're just changing the DNS servers.
Okay.
But if you just make sure you write down the original IPs, just in case it doesn't work. I mean, it will work, but just in case, write down the original ones so that you can fall back.
Yeah, I'm not going to mess around, personally. One, I'm going to go with this and see if it works, and I'm just going to leave it open. Two, I'll try Monday. I'm going to drive up and see if that fixes it. If that doesn't fix it, then yes, I'll try what you're suggesting. I'm very reluctant to change something like that, and then I wind up doing something wrong, and then I can't get anything. So I'm going to play it safe. Thanks. And if I had, actually, I should try the experiment. I really should try the experiment to see if it'll work, to learn how to do it.
Yeah, try it. Just make sure that you take a snapshot, like a screenshot, or even just take a picture of it with your cell phone, or write down all the settings before you change them, so that if you screw something up, you can just go back to the way it was.
If I tried that, let's say, couldn't, even if, let's say I screwed up something, I could still go back to Comcast and get a new modem or something and get a new setup and a connection I'm going to get. I could log off of Google and log back on or something like that, I would guess.
Well, if you don't have a DNS server, then no. But Google's is 4 8s with periods between them all, and then it's 2 8s and 2 4s. So it's 8.8.8.8, and then for the second one, it's 8.8.4.4.
And you're saying the people in China do this technique?
Yeah.
That's interesting. It's the kind of thing I should try, just as an experiment. But my internet connection is so important to me that I'm kind of reluctant to hit the wrong number or whatever and lose it all. Let's see. Go into more stories. One that we're about an hour into the Hangout. I was talking to Pamela about the Harrison Ford science fiction movie, which I have once again, my short-term memory problem, forgot the name of it, Blade Runner.
Oh.
And I suggest you should definitely go see Blade Runner. Would you rate Blade Runner as one of the best sci-fi movies ever?
No.
No. Okay.
I mean, maybe for the time period that it came out in, but I wouldn't call it the best sci-fi ever.
In fact, I even got a remastered version. It's one of the few movies I actually bought through iTunes. I rent most of them. Which would be your favorite? Some of your favorites.
Stargate's pretty good.
So Stargate. Have you seen the recent Star Wars?
I have. It's just a reboot of the New Hope. It's not even a very good reboot.
Pamela went to it. It's getting fantastic reviews. I am not going to. I will probably pay $5 on iTunes to rent it when it comes out. I'm not really that anxious to see it, but it's gotten such fantastic reviews and things. I probably will. But in your impression, that I have heard a couple of people say that they didn't think it was that great because it was basically just a reboot of the same story, and the next one is going to be better.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought there was some really corny moments and moments where they basically just ripped off stuff, but they didn't even rip it off like very well.
Harrison,
I don't know. There's a lot of callbacks, which is funny, but I have mixed feelings about it.
Have been watching any television? I've seen a couple of sci-fi shows that I really like.
I really like The Expanse.
Yes, that's the one I was going to mention.
I've also watched Transparent recently.
I watched the first couple of episodes of Transparent as opposed to Transparency. Is that the one where the guy is transitioning?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Didn't care for the family. They're a bunch of assholes.
Yeah, I guess. It's a good show at times, and then some parts of it's hard to watch. Just because it's so like Arrested Development stuff, and I never really liked that show. My brother and sister love that show, but it's awkward funny, and I hate awkward funny. Awkward funny is too awkward.
Well, the characters. I have to like characters. And in that show, again, I only watched the first couple of episodes. And the family, man, I'm not going to sit down and watch this week after week. This bunch of idiots.
See, I did something on accident. I accidentally started watching the second season, thinking it was the first season. And so I was watching the first episode of the second season, and I was like, I don't understand any of the relationships between these people. I don't know what's going on. And then I actually finished watching the second season, and then I went back to see if there was another season after that. And it turns out I was watching the second season, and I went back and watched the first season. I was like, oh, this makes so much more sense now.
You know, that the show Expanse, Tom Merritt said the book is perhaps the best science fiction book, and it's, I guess, a trilogy or something. It's a series that he may have ever read. He really likes the books.
I've heard the book's good. I haven't read it yet. I'm not sure if I will read it. I think it's best to watch the shows before you read a book, because then you can watch them as a standalone thing, and then the book will fill in all the gaps.
Yeah, I think, but what happens is you have a picture of the character based on the book, and if it doesn't match the TV show, then you don't want, it's uncomfortable.
Right, which is why I didn't like the Martian movie. It wasn't the way I thought it would go down.
Yeah, it was different.
Honestly, I didn't think Matt Damon fit the character.
He was different. I like The Martian because I like the survival
I listened to the
story.
audiobook, and the guy in the audiobook made a way better Watney than Matt Damon did.
Yeah, I listened to the audiobook as well, and I agree with you.
I think that guy, I've seen pictures of that guy, the narrator, and I think he would have made a better Mark Watney for the movie than I think Matt Damon did.
Yeah, but Matt Damon's, I thought he did a good job. He's the one who's going to bring in the audience, so he's the one who's, obviously, you're going to use a star.
Yeah.
Pamela is back. Is Pamela back for real?
I prefer like unknown actors to real serious roles, or to not serious roles, but to like book movies and stuff, because then you don't have like preconceived notions of like who this actor character is, and they can fit the role a lot better that way. Which is one of the reasons I didn't like the new Star Wars, is because there was a couple of actors in there that I've seen them in other roles, and whenever I see that actor, no matter what it is, I always think of the other role, and it just doesn't fit. Like, they're basically playing the same character, just with a different costume. It was really annoying. It totally took me out of the movie. I was like, why the hell is that guy there? He doesn't belong there.
It's hard, to view the movie or the book or the TV show as a blank slate. That's kind of hard.
Yeah.
Did
Unless
you?
it's been like a decade between reading and seeing it, then it's like, okay. Then they can stand alone for the most part. But
Pamela, do you think you can join us, or is your mic still broke? Mic is still broke. Okay. You did like Star Wars. You gave Star Wars, you thought it was one of the better pictures, like 5 stars out of 5.
and you'd be wrong, Pamela.
Pamela's right for Pamela. Pamela's right. A movie, again, we're so different. The what was the Mad Max remake?
I never saw it. It wasn't a remake. It was a sequel.
Okay, sequel. You're right. Well, it was Mad Max Thunderdome, kind of remade. But it got 97 on Rotten Tomatoes. I think it might be up for the Best Picture award. I just didn't like it. It wasn't character driven at all. Very fast paced, all kinds of things happening. Some weird characters in there, but no character development, and there was an off-putting scene where they've got the Mad Max character. He's on the front of a car, and he's got a UV needle going from him to the person driving the car, and the person driving the car is getting his blood and being a maniac. And I said, no, thank you. Couldn't watch it. I couldn't watch it. But, everybody loved it, except me.
I've never seen any of the Mad Max movies, so I really can't comment. I just know that my friends and my brother really liked it.
What's the guy's name? The actor who played it. I liked him in the role. Thunderdome had who's the singer? I can't think of her name either. In any event, it was a very entertaining movie. But that's me. I thought there have been some pretty interesting sci-fi shows. Well, there's been some fantasy shows. X-Files. Have you seen the X-Files reboot?
No, I don't like X-Files.
All right. First episode I wasn't too crazy about. Third episode is terrific. I would say, Pamela, watch episode number 3. You've never seen the X-Files. Give it a shot. It's got a comic element to it. It's very interesting. No, definitely can't talk you into it. What is something you've seen, Pamela? You can go into the chat area, and then we can make fun of your taste.
She doesn't see anything. She doesn't have a TV. She lives in a tent. And yet she has internet.
A friend of mine was on Facebook was talking about internet speeds, etc. And let's see, it's a tent and a playroom for Chelsea. But it's a playroom for Chelsea. Good idea. I think her whole house is a playroom for Chelsea. Camp X-Ray? What the heck is Camp X-Ray? That must be some Australian show. I don't know. I've never... Camp X-Ray. I got to go onto the internet. See this one.
Has Justin been on here lately?
A couple of weeks ago. Camp X-Ray. Okay. Independent drama about the Guantanamo Bay Detention Center.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
Okay. That I do remember. Got some good reviews. Kristen Stewart is the lead character. Okay, that's interesting. Had the approval of the former guards at the detention center. Okay, so I guess it was a pretty realistic portrayal. That's the draft. A friend of mine was on Facebook, and a conservative guy was posting how he thinks we should have a draft. Well, we still do have, you have to register for the draft, I think.
Selective service.
Selective service. So that there's the potential you could be drafted.
Anyone over the age of 18 has to register, and below the age of 35? Maybe 45. No, I don't think it's that high. I think it's 35 or something.
I don't know what the rules are, but I saw an article that said that women, I guess, young girls, 18-year-old girls, don't have to register for the draft. It's only men. And that they wanted to change that so that even girls have to register for the draft.
I do not know. I don't think my sister had to register.
She probably wouldn't. The issue is changing the regulations so that girls have to register for the selective service, just like guys do. And I say I don't have a problem with that. I just don't think we should have any draft to begin with.
Yeah, it's only for emergencies, like dire emergencies.
In an emergency, people will volunteer. That was an issue, World War II. World War II, they instituted the draft, but the fact was, all the guys volunteered anyway. They had no shortage of personnel because everybody volunteered. And if it's an emergency, and if people buy into it as an emergency, they're going to volunteer. You shouldn't force a person to have to sacrifice their lives for another person. I don't think you can force anyone to.
Well, they've also shown that volunteer armies have better training and whatnot than draft armies.
They tend to be more highly motivated, I think.
Yeah.
You can say in the chat area, Pamela, whether or not Australia has a draft. No, they don't. Okay.
There are some countries that have compulsory military. You have to serve like 3 or 4 years or something.
Yes. I guess if you're a country, I'm not sure what I think in Israel, but I don't know if you can avoid not going into the service if you're a young man in Israel. I think it might be compulsory, but I'm not sure. Switzerland, where Pamela was, I think Switzerland may have a compulsory draft as well, compulsory service as well. And in Israel, it's both men and women. But they're surrounded by an enemy. So I can see the reasons for doing that. There's a greater need for it, perhaps. In the United States, many volunteers, and I don't know what the percentages are now, but it used to be a way for people living in poverty to get some training. Go into the Army, serve in the Army. Hopefully there's no war. And you can go to school, you can get some training, and then one, you can make a career out of the service, or two, you can get out with some skills.
Yeah. I don't think it's that simple, but yeah.
Let's see.
I don't think I can stay much longer. I'm starting to drift off.
Okay.
But it was nice talking to you again.
Great talking to you, and hopefully you and Pamela will hook up sometime in the not too far foreseeable future. Excuse me, I phrased that incorrectly. You will meet together and have vast quantities of beer together in a social environment. I'm just digging myself in deeper. Forget.
All right. See you two later.
Okay, I'll see you, Patrick.
Bye.
Let's see. When did we start? We started around 11:30. We've been here almost an hour. I think that's long enough. I could go into a couple of stories. I don't know. Do you want to hear about 3-person embryos, Pamela? Okay, I'll go into one more story. You got a pinky up. I'm going to sign off. I can't figure out. I can't interpret what the heck. Pamela, sign language, 4 fingers, 2 fingers. Okay, we've been here for about an hour. I don't think anybody else is going to be watching this for more than an hour. Michael Jobin didn't even make it into the chat area today. So hopefully we'll be back next week. Hopefully we'll have a better connection. And then I can start talking to somebody else. For me, these Hangouts are about discussions. But we did get to some interesting articles. So hopefully what audience we had or have will also find it interesting. So I'm going to hang up. I'm going to hang up. Well, I'm going to stop the broadcast. And then I'm sorry.